While the images of the tragic fire in Jecheon are still lingering in most Koreans' minds, we heard another ridiculous news report that shows how insensitive Koreans are about abiding by safety standards. A picture showed a number of cars that were parked in front of a fire station and blocked the doors where the fire engines leave from. The cars were parked by visitors who could not find parking for a famous New Year's sunrise site. Fortunately, there wasn't a situation where the fire trucks had to rush out, but if an emergency occurred, there could have been a serious delay caused by these brazen violators. People make mistakes. The real problem is Koreans tend not to learn from their mistakes. We all heard the reports that the fire in Jecheon caused more casualties because of illegally parked cars that blocked the fire trucks. After the incident, a public consensus started to emerge that fire trucks should be allowed to forcibly move and/or damage any illegal parked vehicles blocking access to a fire. The infuriating picture of cars parked in front of a fire station was revealed as the debate of how to improve fire safety was being discussed. For many Westerners, Korea is still infamous for its immature driving culture, even though many Koreans believe that we are getting better. For example, the number of casualties by traffic accidents has been on a steady decline over the past years. But many point out that we still have a long way to go. We should be more aware of what to do and what not to do behind the wheel. Instead of learning the lesson the hard way through another tragedy, everyone should do something to put what we have already learned into action. According to the news, illegally parked cars were one of the main reasons why the fire was not put out sooner. So when we talk about fire, you can start a fire, and then when firefighters come, they put it out. So it doesn't mean they take the fire and put it outside. To put out a fire also means to extinguish the fire. Casualties and damage from the Jecheon fire could have been minimized if the fire lane was not blocked by illegally parked cars. So we talk about casualties and damage could have been minimized. So minimized means to reduce. And also we talked about the fire lane. The fire lane is a lane in a road where fire trucks can pass. So for example, the bus lane in Seoul can also be used by fire trucks. That's the fire lane. Also in every apartment complex, there is an area signaled and designated by yellow paint. That is the fire lane. Even if it's in a parking lot, we call that the fire lane, and that should not be blocked. Ego, selfishness, and self-centeredness are the main reasons why motorists park their cars wherever they want. So saying ego, Koreans actually, it's kind of Konglish, they say ego. We say ego, and it's the belief of oneself, or the confidence in oneself. Selfishness is only caring about yourself, and self-centeredness is the theory or the thought that, one person believes they are the center of the world and everything revolves around them. So they think every day that they should get what they want, they deserve everything, and everyone else comes second. And then I said those are the main reasons why motorists park their car wherever they want. When we say motorists, we use motorists for people who drive cars or trucks. So on the highway, there are many motorists, but it's kind of a general term we use for people who drive automobiles. Also, the majority of drivers only care about what is important to themselves and not to the other motorists around them. For this expression, we don't have the direct translation, as was said before. However, we do have 3 different sayings, and 2 are actually biblical. We would say, "Judge not, lest ye be judged." Even if you're not religious, people do say this. It means that, you shouldn't judge someone unless you are ready to be judged yourself. So judge not lest ye be judged. It's in Old English, but we say it colloquially like that. The second saying we have is also another religious saying. He who is without sin cast the first stone. So it means, you're going to judge someone or punish someone, you should look at yourself and your own behavior before you do it to someone else. So, for example, if you're driving in a car with someone, you're the passenger, the driver yells at someone for running a red light, the passenger might say, hey, don't cast the first stone because you did that yesterday. So that's the saying. So he who is without sin cast the first stone, or just, hey, don't cast the first stone. The final saying we have is the pot calling the kettle black. So if you can imagine, a pot is something you cook in, and a kettle is something you boil water in. Traditionally, they were both black and made of iron. So the pot calling the kettle black is kind of accusing someone of doing the same thing you're doing. So again, if using the example of two people sitting in a car, driver, passenger, the driver says, hey, that idiot ran a red light. The passenger might say, hey, that's like the pot calling the kettle black because you did that yesterday. So those are the three sayings we have for kind of thinking about judging someone before you judge yourself. Those who follow the rules to the letter are seen as scared and too nice. The ability to improvise and find loopholes is more respected. So when I said follow the rules to the letter, that means to follow a law or a rule exactly. So to the letter means to follow it exactly with no variation or no changes. Someone operating outside the law is considered to have street smarts. Obeying the rules is a sign of someone who is not brave and assertive. So I mentioned operating outside the law. Operating outside the law means you know the law, but you bend it or intentionally break it. So no longer are you within the law, you're outside, which means it's usually illegal. And then that person is considered to have street smarts. So we define people by having two types of smarts, book smarts and street smarts. So book smarts would be someone who studies very well, is very intelligent, can memorize things, and knows how to operate in an academic environment. Street smarts may be someone who is able to be, I would say, not very smart, but is very clever, can solve problems, can understand how people and relationships work, and can operate also with someone who can figure out loopholes or other ways of finding ways around the law or around regulations. That's how we define street smarts. And finally, to be brave and assertive. To be assertive is to act in a way to get what you want. It's to be a little bit aggressive, not violent or not too aggressive, but just someone who wants something and they will persuade someone to give them what they want. That is assertive. Car ownership in Korea is increasing every year. This increase comes at a cost, as the country has not proactively increased its safety standards. Korea needs to increase driver's education, safety awareness, tougher driving tests, and increase fines for moving violations. So saying that the increase comes at a cost. So usually we use this when something positive happened, there's a negative side. So increased number of cars too quickly, not enough safety standards, or there's too much traffic. That would be a cost of something good happening. And that the country has not proactively increased safety standards. To be proactive is to do something with your own will to try to better a situation, yourself, or someone else. So being proactive is taking action through yourself and going out and getting something done, not waiting for something to happen. And finally, I talked about increased fines and moving violations. A moving violation is something that's against the law while your car is moving. That is speeding, not stopping at a red light, not stopping at a stop sign, changing lanes without signaling. Those are moving violations. Next. The huge influx of cars on the road has not changed the driving culture in Korea. Safety is improving, but at a very slow rate. So I said the huge influx of cars. An influx is when you have a lot of something, a group of people, water, money that is going quickly into one area or one place. It's called an influx. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for listening and downloading. Bye-bye.